Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to Hold the Ball. Look, first and foremost, it's not every day you get this, but I'm here actually with Roo and Hammer. Again, Warriors content creators. But again, before I sort of introduce them, I'll let them introduce themselves actually. So again, over to you guys. What's been happening? What are you guys up to? And again, thank you very much for joining Hold the Ball here on the 5th episode of Locked On Warriors.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, thanks so much for having us. Been looking forward to making my HTB debut. So great to be on the show. Yeah, thanks again for inviting us. Look, things have been pretty hectic for me personally. Just had a few things going on. I'm playing single dad with my daughter at the moment while my wife and son are overseas. But otherwise, started the year strong in terms of our Roo and Hammer content. And we're lucky enough to have a chat with Webby and Cappy McFadden last week as well. So it was great to have a chat with those guys. And just a great way to start the season for us, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been trying to build our YouTube audience. As everyone knows, we were primarily on Facebook for the last 3 seasons doing the live show primarily on there, and we've jumped across to YouTube this year. We're trying to get our Facebook subscribers all over to YouTube to watch us over there. It's just a easier format, and it's great for us to be here with you, mate. We've had you on our show a couple of times in the past, but it's really good to appear with you, and it's great that as Warriors content creators, we're all really supportive of each other and can back each other and help each other. So yeah, mate, it's really good. Thanks for having us on.
Again, no issues in here. Thank you both. And also, guys, as well, you can see there down there, follow Roo and Hammer. It's got there on the little ticker there on YouTube, Facebook, as well as Instagram. Again, definitely YouTube fans there. Please follow them through there. Now, again, obviously, we're going to be focusing on Warriors here. But before we start, I've got a random match for you guys. So, Random match, 1999, the 8th of March, Sydney Football Stadium. Sydney, round 1 versus Sydney Roosters. The Warriors won that, 26 points to 18. And just a little bit of more trivia there. The tries were 2 to Matthew Ridge, Joe Nalval, Stacey Jones, and Matthew Ridge kicked 5 goals. Do you guys remember that game?
Absolutely remember it. Ali Lauatiti got sent off in that game as well. Matthew Ridge had a blinder that night. Yes, as you can see, a couple of tries. It was a massive upset. Mark Graham's first match in charge of the Warriors as well. So he was one of the few coaches to get off to a winning start. Remember that one well.
Rob's got a photographic memory of every game the Warriors have ever played. He can remember every game of every season. Rob, I'll just throw to you on this one. Joe Nullival, he would have been in the centres or on the wing that day?
He would have been 3/4. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He started as a fullback, if you can believe that. I think he started back in about 98. So that would have been his second season in first grade. And he was a blockbusting centre, winger, fullback in those days, and then became one of the famous Hair Bears when to win the premiership for the Panthers. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And just a bit of a side fact as well. I was actually 7 years old at 99. So.
You're making me feel old, mate.
Mate, hang on. I can't.
I was 18. Yeah, first year uni. I remember. Yeah.
You're 18. I would have been I was probably 30. I would have been 30.
Yeah. And moving along, so we all know that the New Zealand Warriors, so this is the focusing on the SG Ball as well as the New South Wales Cup. We'll go to the SG Ball first. The Warriors, unfortunately, going down tonight in their first loss, 40 points to 18 there. Unfortunately, myself, I didn't quite watch the game, but I did sort of see little snippets here and there. If you guys did watch it, what were your thoughts on the game?
I didn't watch it. I haven't been able to catch a lot of the SG Ball stuff, just due to stuff that's been going on here with me. But they've had a great start to the season so far. They were undefeated going in this game. They do have a game up their sleeve. I think it was round 2 when they were supposed to play the Sea Eagles at home in New Zealand. It was when those storms hit Auckland and that game was called off. I'm pretty sure they're playing that game Easter weekend, because they'll have a full bye round when none of the teams play Easter weekend. So the Warriors will get that catch-up game. So at the moment, that was their first loss of the season. I think Adam Blair's been doing a wonderful job with them to bring these players through, and it's exciting times for the Warriors too, because Cappy announced last week when we were chatting to him that we're going to be having Jersey Flegg and Harold Matts next year as well. So we'll be represented in all 5 competitions next year, which is great for our pathways and development.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. And I'm moving along now as well to the New South Wales Cup as well. So the Warriors won that one there, a good convincing win, 42 points to 20 over the night. Unfortunately, again, I didn't get to watch that game, but did you guys watch the game? Any guys watch the game there, or?
I didn't catch it. I caught some highlights, but it's always great for the New South Wales Cup team to be performing strongly and have like the guys, a lot of guys in form that are ready to come into first grade if needs be. Apparently, Freddie Glussick had a really good game, and Tane Tuipiki was strong as well. So it's great to see these guys get a run. And,
Ronnie
Ronnie
Volkman played well as well. He kicked 7 from 7 with the goal kicking. So it's great that we've got a specialist goal kicker in the halves in case something does happen to Sean Johnson during the season. We've got a nice replacement to come in there. But yeah, no, it was a good result. Good way to start the season.
Awesome. Now, guys, moving on. We all know what happened. Round 1, right? A round full of anticipation, as opposed to surprises, hopes, dreams, all that stuff. We all have been there, as I'm sure you both really know all about. We versed the Knights in this game here, and I suppose in saying that the outcome was thankfully the Warriors won 20 points to 12 over there in Wellington, the Caketon, as they also call it. What were your thoughts on the game overall? I guess over to you, Hammer.
Mate, for me, mate, I thought it was a great game. It was a great way to start the season. You can't knock a win, a first round win. We don't get too many of them. I think we've maybe had 8 in the history of our club.
That was our 9th. Yeah,
9th. There you go. So to get a win first round of the season is always good. One of the things that was probably stood out for me was when we had Webby on a couple of weeks ago. He spoke about the commitment that the club was going to make in defence, defence was all about attitude and that really showed in this game. I thought there was patches in that game where we defended really well on our line. We showed a lot of really good goal line resilience, and there was a couple of key moments in that game too with some really great defensive efforts. One was Chance Nickel-Kluckster with holding up Kalen Ponga over the line. The other one was Ed Cozzi getting to Heimel Hunt in the corner, and then Adam Pompey coming over to finish that tackle. And they were 2 instances of great desperation defence, something we haven't seen for a little while in Warriors Rugby League. And mate, if that's how they're playing in round 1, if that's the attitude they got in round 1, and you can only assume that we're going to build as the season goes on, I'm really excited in what Webby's bringing in terms of our defensive structures.
Yourself, Roo, what are your thoughts on that?
Mate, well, I've got a couple of stats for you. And these sort of stats can't be underestimated. As I said before, it's only our 9th first round win. So you think about all the other years where we started off the season with a loss. You're starting off, on the back foot straight away. So 9th first round win, our first since 2021. And also, the match was played in Wellington, and mate, all Warriors fans know that we have a terrible record in New Zealand outside of Auckland.
Yep.
And I had a look. That was our 11th game at Sky Stadium or Wellington Stadium, and that was just our 4th win. So 4 wins and 1 draw out of 11 games. So, mate, we're up. I mean, you can't sort of underestimate like those kind of statistics. And I know people say we were just playing the Knights, but everyone's sort of improved their rosters this year. There's no easy wins in the NRL, and it's so important to get your season off to a good start, which we haven't done for so many years. And I mean, being up against it, being in a different ground, playing a side that's probably on the same sort of level as us that you would say coming into the season. So it's so important to get that win. I just echoing what Hammer said about the resilience. That was the biggest takeaway for me, is that period of almost 10 minutes where we seemed to be defending our try line. We couldn't get out of our own end, and mate, let's face it, the 2022 side wouldn't have held them out that long. But there was a lot of resilience, desperation, I guess, in defence, which was the most pleasing factor. And then we took our opportunities. We got one shot down the other end, and we iced the game. And that was extremely pleasing for me, and at a relief, let's face it, just to get that win.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely was. I look for myself personally. I think Yeah, defense, right? We always sort of talk about, we sort of hope that the boys can somewhat show it there, and you're right, you guys both right. We definitely did. And I think that was probably the most pleasing takeaway from the game, was when all else fails, your defense is usually the last thing to go, and it didn't this time, thankfully. And again, just echoing what Hammer said, it's something that we can definitely build off on, hopefully, and sort of use as we sort of move forward. Now, I managed to select at least around 5 players. And again, guys, feel free to please also chime in if you want. In no particular order. And again, these players here that I show up on the screen, feel free to have a yarn about them. But I have here Wade Egan. So he played 66 minutes. What were your general thoughts on Wade Egan? Over to you, Roo, or Hammer. Yeah, Hammer, sorry.
Mate, he was great. He was a constant threat in attack. He kept finding the markers offside, getting us 6 to goes. Mate, he was massive. Close to the player of the match for me. And obviously came up with a big play right at the end there. And look at those stats. I mean, 1 try assist, 57 meters, 4 tackle breaks, 33 tackles. He was involved in everything.
Yeah, he was. And it's interesting to note, those 66 minutes, he would have played the full 80, but he had to come off for a HIA assessment at some point.
Back slam.
Mate, he's one of those guys that is improving year after year after year, and he's really finding his place in this team. He's jumping out of dummy half. I think the first couple of seasons we had him, he just pretty much passed. He didn't do a lot of running. Now he's doing a little bit of running. He's bringing the defensive line into him a little bit more, which frees up these outside men. Mate, I think he was the highest scoring point scorer in Supercoach or fantasy for hookers over the weekend, which is massive when you consider, Harry Grant hit 91 in fantasy, and you've got guys like Brandon Smith and Appy Coruscant and guys like that Damien Cook are always big scorers in fantasy. But he had a really good game, really strong game. And the fact that we weren't carrying a recognised hooker on the bench as well meant that the onus is on him to probably play 80 minutes a game this year.
He's been a bit of a slow burn. As Hammer said, he had a couple of slow years. He seems to really be coming into his own now. It's great to see that running game back as well.
Yeah. I was just going to elaborate as well on what you guys what Hammer was saying as well. I feel like Wade Egan's been given that chance to actually just experiment and grow and develop this game, regardless of the rotation of coaches we've had. He's still been able to craft and mold himself, and I think that's been pivotal to us and to him as well as a player. Yep. Next on here we have Mitchell Barnett, one of our new signings. Over to you, Hammer. What were your thoughts on Mitchell Barnett and what he produced?
Mate, before a ball was even kicked this year, I actually picked Mitch Barnett to be the Simon Mannering medalist at the end of the year. I rate this guy. I think, they brought him over to the club. He's got a little bit of mongrel about him. He's always been one of those players that has troubled us. So it's great that we've got him on our side now. I thought he had a really, really strong game. 100 run meters. It was his defensive effort, so in that middle of the park, that really impressed me as well. And then there was that little play where Tohu put him through a hole, and he was smart enough not to throw a stupid pass. He held onto the ball, and we managed to score off that set of 6 anyway. I was really impressed with Barnett. It was a great Warriors debut for him, and he's going to be that 1-2 punch that he's going to have with Adam Fanua-Blake this year is going to be awesome for us.
Yeah, he's a good complement to AFB. He's a different shape sort of prop, sort of a little bit more taller and lanky, and as you said, he's got good mongrel about him. And he's what Webby was referring to as like the new mold of front rower, sort of a bit not leaner, but sort of more agile and sort of got that lateral movement.
Yeah.
Like you said, it shows he's got some good footy smarts, because when a front rower normally gets in space, you think he's going to panic getting on the old TB122 treadmill. But he showed good composure to take the tackle and let the play unfold after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The next man we have here is Toy Harris, the Warriors captain. Now, over to you, Roo. What were your thoughts on Toy Harris and the way he played?
Man, what a captain's knock. Again, involved in everything, a bit of everything in his game. Like 145 run meters, that line break assist to Barnett, 51 tackles, and a little bit of ball playing as well. well, let's just hope he stays injury free this year, and we can get like a good full season out of him. I think we'll go far with him leading the squad.
For me, he was player of the match for me. He's just one of those guys that you know what you're going to get from Tohu. He works hard. As you said, you look at those stats: 51 tackles, and he floated between playing 13 and playing up front in the middle. But I mean, not 8, 10, 13. They're all kind of middle forwards anyway. But yeah, he's the one offload. He had, as I said, the 51 tackles, 145 run meters. He just works. He's a leader. He's one of those guys. He's similar to RTS as a captain, where he's not one of those big talkers. He's one of those guys that will be up the front. Follow me. I'll lead the way, boys.
Mannering style.
Yeah, Mannering style. And as the comments are coming through, he's just that guy that we need to lead us into battle, and everyone will follow.
Yeah, definitely agree. One thing I'll also add to that as well was I really appreciated him talking with the ref. You know what I mean? He was always in his ear.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Not only was he leading the boys out in the paddock, but he was also in the ref's ear, and that's something I really wanted to see. In terms of his leadership and the fact that he did that, to me, on top of everything else he does, it's just positive because I think it shows more, I suppose, progress and development as a captain, and doing that as well. I don't know, it just looked good for me. I don't know what you guys feel about it, but I like a captain who's always in the ref's ear.
Got to keep him honest.
I don't know if you guys caught the post-match press conference with him and Webby as well.
I saw that one,
and he spoke because Tohu's not a big speaker, but he spoke really well in that post-match press conference. Which is another thing it's one of those things, you want a guy that can articulate what he wants. And as you're saying, Boy, it's him talking to the referee. That's what we want. Yep. Steve Price was notorious for it. He never shut up. He never let off on the refs. Tohu's doing that well.
One of the other players too, a returnee, if you will, Charles Nicole Cookstad. He had a very, very good game. Hammer, over to you. What were your thoughts on his play?
Outstanding performance. For a guy to make a fundamental mistake in the opening couple of minutes, as he did with that drop bomb, that led, to the 6 again, and then the Knights scoring, it was almost James Maloney-esque, the fact that he just brushed that off and just got on with his game.
Yeah.
204 run meters. He was involved in everything. 3 tackle breaks, 10 tackles. Is it 10 tackles or 10? Yeah, 10 tackles.
Sorry, 10 tackles.
And the try. An interesting thing with Chance is that was his 8th try as a Warrior. In 8 games. That was his 8th game as a Warrior as well. So when he was with us before he left, he'd scored 7 tries in 7 games. So he's keeping up his strike rate of a game.
Keep that up. That's all we ask.
Absolutely. He was very close to best on field. I know he got the full complement of 6 Dally M points from the rugby league journalist judges that judged the game. But I thought he was outstanding. Great for a guy that hasn't played a lot of first grade either over the past couple of years because, Ricky Stewart's a strange guy and didn't have him in his first grade squad especially once he'd signed with the Warriors. So for him to kind of come out in his first grade game for, a good 12 months and put in a performance like that, very, very good.
And over to you. Yeah.
Absolutely superb return to the club. And you can see how much it meant to him as well after he scored that try. And but I can't go past 2 massive pieces of play in that second half. Firstly, the try. Well, actually, no, before that, I think he cleaned up a grubber and got out of the in-goal area when we were under immense pressure.
Yep.
And, sort of really put his body on the line and got himself in the position. And we know that's what he was going to bring because he's a bit more of a robust fullback to what we've been used to for the last couple of years, I suppose. And that tackle on Kalen Ponga, talk about big moments of the game. That absolute try saver, one of the best I've seen. It's a throwback to RTS. Remember, he used to pull off try savers like that all the time, and I think that's what Chance brings to the side. And with all due respect to Reece Walsh and everything, I don't think he would have been able to make that tackle.
No,
last year. So I mean, that's
no way.
That shows, what Chance is going to bring this year, and so exciting and awesome to have him back.
Yeah.
Who's Reece Walsh?
I I don't know, some guy that hasn't played first grade this year yet. Yeah.
The next player as well, perhaps a surprise package to a lot of us. Jackson Ford, and Roo, over to you. What were your thoughts?
Mate, when we signed this guy, I was honestly like, who is this bloke? Never heard of him before. And they said he played something like over 50 games for the Dragons, but I think most of them had been in New South Wales Cup.
Yeah, 34 of them in New South Wales Cup.
34 of them in New South Wales Cup. And I looked at this guy and I'm like, I said, with all due respect, he's probably just going to come and make up the numbers in New South Wales Cup. But geez, boy, were we wrong. He hit the ground running in the trials, had 2 very strong trials, and on the back of that, earned his spot in the first grade team for round 1. And I must admit, I was surprised to see him picked ahead of the likes of Josh Curran. But, mate, he was outstanding. He was involved in everything. A lot of that attack in that first half, he was like front and centre. He was offloading, catching offloads, doing in and aways down the sideline. You look at his stats: 150 run meters, 3 tackle breaks, like 25 tackles. Yeah, like, mate, I very pleasantly surprised, and let's hope he keeps it up because he could be a real diamond in the rough.
Mm. Yeah, I echo everything that Roo said there. It's funny when we, as Rob said, when we signed him, because we're in contact every day, and when we signed him, it was like, who is this guy? And we just thought he was just going to be another generic forward that just makes up the numbers in New South Wales Cup. Wouldn't get a lot of opportunity in first grade, but as Rob said, he really impressed well in his 2 trial hitouts, earned his spot in the run-on side, and even last week before the game, and when we did our preview of the show, preview of the game, I even said, like, I couldn't believe that he'd made the squad. Yep. I probably wouldn't have had him in starting. I probably would have had Josh Curran. But yeah, made us eat our words.
Sure did.
Absolutely fantastic performance. And let's hope he can keep that up.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of players who've been debuting and so on, what were your thoughts on the debutants as a collective, I suppose, from William, Tamari Martin, Ford, Bennett, Walker, as well as Marata Newcore? What were your thoughts? I suppose over to you, Hammer. What were your thoughts overall?
Mate, I'll go through them individually.
Yeah.
Viliami, he trialled really well in that Tigers trial. He showed that he was going to form a really nice combination on that left edge with Marcelo Montoya. And he didn't disappoint. There was a period in that game where he set up a try. Did he set up the try for
Chance's try?
Chance's try. That's right. Yeah, running off a nice Tamari Martin pass. Tamari Martin, I thought, was really composed in the halves. Did a lot of the stuff that you would expect Sean Johnson to do as halfback, wearing the 7 on his back, but Tamari Martin did it with the 6 on his back. And that's what we kind of need from Tamari Martin to do those things that Sean doesn't do naturally in directing the team around the park, getting us to our points on the field and so forth. I did notice in a lot of like off the ball stuff, he was barking a lot of orders. He was very, very vocal, which is what you want from a half. We've spoken about Ford and Barnett, very, very good. I'll leave Dylan Walker to last. Murata Newcore, I thought was really, really strong. He's brought to us a little bit of mongrel as well. And it's funny because you look at our back 3 of Newcore, Ford, and Tohu Harris, and all of those guys can play 80 minutes. So when you've got a guy like Josh Curran sitting on the bench who can play 80 minutes as well, it makes it very hard for Webby to bring these guys in and out of the game at the right time and get the best out of them. I thought on the weekend he did that relatively okay. I think Newcore is going to be a massive influence for us this season. Dylan Walker I thought he was a standout. Playing in that 14 jersey, came onto the field. He just injects a lot of energy. The one thing that I did notice that Dylan Walker does really well is he gets in at first receiver and he takes the ball at pace and at speed. And there was 2 or 3 times where he did that and he had Sean Johnson coming with him and he was able to offload to Johnson, which got Johnson running into the line a lot more. And then he had options outside him as well. he had to jump in at hooker for a little while when Wade Egan got injured. I thought he did that quite well. But, yeah, mate, I thought as a whole, the 6 debutants, very, very good. Very, very good.
Yeah, look, I won't go on too much about it because Hammer's said it all basically. But one thing I will say is watching some of the footage that the Warriors released in the lead up to the game when these guys were presented their jerseys. Braden Villiamy was in tears, and you could see the emotion, see how much it meant to a lot of these guys as well. Those who are new to the club and those who have been coming back to the club, like not necessarily like Nia Corey. He played juniors, but he was making his first grade debut for the Warriors, and Tomato Martin being a Kiwi, and you can see how much they wanted to represent the jersey, and that was massive for me. And yeah, just they were all outstanding on the field, and yeah, like I said, I was impressed with Dylan Walker as well, and his utility value is going to be massive for us this year.
Absolutely.
Awesome, and I suppose in saying that again, we ended that game there with a win, thankfully. However, the games must go on. And the Warriors are now going to be jetting over to New South Wales there, Allianz Stadium, against a defeated, wounded, and perhaps very upset Roosters squad here. Now, we all know what the selections were. If you don't, I'm sure we'll talk about it. But I suppose, Roo, over to you. What were your thoughts on the team selection for the Warriors today?
Oh, what a luxury to pick the same 17 2 weeks in a row. It's not something that's happened too often past couple of years anyway. I mean, obviously Dallin has injury. I think they said it's going to be about 4 weeks.
Yep.
But mate, Ed was outstanding on Friday night. It's no secret he's one of my favourites, and he played an outstanding game and thoroughly deserves his spot on that wing there. Probably career best game from him. So, but other than that, like it's great to pick the same bunch of guys. And let's hope we can repeat the result, do it all again on a Saturday afternoon. It's probably going to be warm conditions there, so we shall see how they acclimatise.
And yeah, over to you. What are your thoughts on the squad selected?
Yeah, as Rob said, it's a great luxury to be able to pick the exact same 17 2 weeks in a row. For me, coming over to Sydney, this week here in Sydney, we're experiencing a bit of a heatwave weather. We had 41 degrees yesterday, it was 38 today, and it's supposed to continue that right up until the weekend. So probably the most interesting thing this weekend for me, and the Warriors kick off at 3 o'clock Sydney time for this game against the Roosters. So it's going to probably be the use of the bench. Last weekend, Bunty got 29 minutes. Josh Curran only got 19 minutes. Tom Arley only played 8 minutes. So it'll be the use of the bench in this game, to try and keep our squad fresh on the field. I'm expecting, both Curran and Arley to get more minutes than what they had in last week's game. I think it's going to come down to the input of Dylan Walker again when he comes on, just trying to work over the tired Roosters forwards. The Roosters are a couple of injury that they've picked up as well. No Matt Lodge this week. He's got that facial fracture. I noticed they've named Victor Radley. I'm a little bit confused by that one because he did go off with a HIA, and it's only a 6-day turnaround for the Roosters. So I thought there was supposed to be a 7-day turnaround for players. So I don't know whether Radley will play. The big in for them is Joey Manu. Joey Manu coming back in, which means that a guy like Adam Pompey is going to have to be on his best again. We spoke about Adam last week on our show, thinking that he was maybe brought in ahead of Vili Valea purely because of size and a little bit of experience to handle Bradman Best. It could be the same again. They've got Swatali'i on one side and Joey Manu on the other. They're both really good, talented centre three quarters. So Braden Villiamy and Adam Pompey are going to have their work cut out for them, keeping those guys quiet.
Yeah, they were great defensively though last week. Pompey and Ed Cozzi, like they were massive, and like that. I think from memory, the last couple of years when Pompey has come up against Joey Manu, he's kind of kept him quiet.
Yep.
And particularly in last year's game. So yeah, hopefully that continues because he worries me. He worries me, I tell you.
I know.
I I wasn't really happy when I read the Roosters squad list and I saw Joe Hunter there. I was very upset. Very upset.
I think the key. I think the key going into this game is going to be Jackson Ford on one side and Murata Niokore on the other, putting defensive pressure on Luke Keary and Sam Walker. We've got to put pressure on them, take away their time and space, so that they can't make. They've got to make decisions on the run, and maybe cause them to make some mistakes in their game. They're the two guys that have the most pressure on them. I think for me is Ford and Niokore on the edges.
I suppose saying that as well. Just touching on that, the preview. I suppose how you mentioned your thoughts, Roo, your thoughts as well. The preview. How does this sort of work out? How does this pan out? Not necessarily. We'll get to the prediction soon, but how does this work in our favor? What are your thoughts? What happens?
It's really hard to know what's going to happen. I mean, they're the wounded Roosters coming off that shock loss to the Dolphins last week, and us coming off a good win, and you've got to take the weather into consideration as well. It's probably going to be a dry track. We've just got to keep rolling forward. We've got to match them with our go forward, and we've got to take our opportunities. And in the game last week, there was a few moments where we spent a lot of time attacking the line and just couldn't get the points on the board. And I think against a team like the Roosters, we really have to take our opportunities.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. As I'm just reading the comments there. Look, my thoughts as well. I'm just hoping that obviously the Warriors halves, they click, right? Tamati Martin, Sean Johnson. But I'm also liking Dylan Walker coming off the bench as well. As you mentioned as well before, Hammer, you mentioned the first receiver and how he's... But for some reason, I just saw when he was on the field, Sean Johnson's play just changed and he was just a lot more freer and there's just a lot more ball running. Can you explain to me why Dylan Walker, out of all players, allows Sean Johnson to play that freely? How does that happen?
Because for me, I think it's the fact that you watch a lot of first grade games now, and you could probably count of the 17 clubs, it's probably 16 clubs where when the halfback gets the ball, they get it in a standing position. A lot of halfbacks aren't running onto the ball. Dylan Walker takes the ball at pace. Every time he takes the ball, he's taking it at pace and he's moving forward. He's not a standing option at first receiver and then looking to pass. His first instinct is run. And so those guys that are outside him, their instinct is they've got to run with him. And that's what's allowing Sean Johnson to be a little bit more freer, because when Dylan Walker's running, he's trying to engage either the A defender. Normally you'll see him run too wide, so he's running at that B defender, which means that he's bringing in two defenders towards him, which obviously frees up the guys outside him. So if he continues doing that, and our halves are smart enough to go with him, you'll see a lot more opportunities created once Dylan Walker is on the field.
Do you want to add anything to that as well, Roo?
Oh, well, if he's going to play in the halves, he's always going to be a running half, and he's had sort of varying degrees of success when they've tried him, I think, at Manly and that sort of thing. But yeah, he's another kind of hectic player. Like we talk about Montoya being like hectic because he's always looks like he's doing everything 100 miles an hour. Dylan Walker to me is another one of those players. As well. So it brings great energy into the side.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, regardless of what position he's playing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
And I suppose we come to the crunch of it all, the conclusion where we predict in this particular game here. I think I'll let you do the honors first, Roo. Warriors, Roosters prediction. What do you think? What happens? Who wins? All that stuff.
Am I going with this or with this? It's going to be a tough game, extremely tough game. I'd like to think we've turned the corner. I'd like to see more of that defensive resilience. Yep. And when the momentum switches, I'd like to think that we now have the team and the mental fortitude to be able to handle that. So I'm going to stick with the Warriors by 2. Very nervous 2-point win. I'm known for my pacing around. I can't sit down. Like the last 10 minutes of a Warriors game, no matter what it is, I'm just pacing around. So I'm expecting more of that.
The last Warriors Roosters game I went to at Allianz Stadium was in 2018, round 4. Warriors won 30-6. Sean Johnson was out. Mason Linos starred that day. I don't think it's going to be a 30-6 victory by the Warriors.
Nice.
I do think we'll get them. I do think we'll get them. I think we'll get them. I think it'll be narrow. I think it'll be like 2 points, 4 points, something like that. It's going to come down to some defensive resilience once again from the Warriors. I think the Roosters will be smarting from that loss to the Dolphins.
Short turnaround as well for them.
Short turnaround for them. They're without, as I said, Matt Lodge up front. There's no Siwa Taukeiaho. There's no Jared Warrior-Hargrave. So they're lacking a little bit of size in the forwards at the moment. They're lacking a little bit of experience too. You got the two Butcher boys playing together in the back row. You got Fletcher Baker starting in the front row with Lindsay Collins in the front row. Brandon Smith's going to be, hard to contain around the ruck. You know that what kind of game Brandon Smith's going to go. If Rick Radley doesn't play, there's another big out for the Roosters. For me, it's going to come down to how we control and limit the opportunities of James Tedesco and Joey Manu, and the amount of pressure that we can put on a guy like Sam Walker and Luke Keary with their kicking game, because they're both very good kickers of the football.
Yeah, agreed. I'm going to follow what you guys are saying as well, because I personally believe, I'd like to think the Warriors definitely turned the new leaf, and we are, not the old team, so to speak. And in saying that, I do have the Warriors tipping them to win. I don't think it's going to be a big win. I think it'll be a bit of an arm wrestle, but I think the Warriors do pull it off. Again, is it heart versus head? Look, I think it's probably just a bit of the heart there, but I want to go with it. Warriors to win. Yeah. I'm definitely primed for that one there. So again, I've got some hard-hitting questions for you guys, just general questions, and we'll just go into it. Right, so the first one here is for yourself, Hammer. So should Walker be a half? Why or why not? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think he's got the passing game and the organisation to be a half. I know he played 5'8" a couple of times when he was at South Sydney. I know Manly trialled him in that area as well. I honestly believe his best position is 14, coming off the bench, and his gameplay as a 14, and you guys might be too young to remember this, but reminds me of a Dean Hallertau type role from the 2005 Tigers when the Tigers won the comp. He's that kind of role for the Warriors this year. He's just like an extra body that can go in at first receiver. He can take a hit up. He can jump in at dummy half and have a scoot. And that's where he's going to be more beneficial for us.
Okay. Do you want to add anything onto that as well, Roo?
Look, I think play him in the halves if we don't have any other options. But we do once Metcalf's back, and we've got Ronnie Bogman there. So, I mean, if all those guys are out, sure. Like he's versatile enough to play in the halves. But I'd leave him in that utility role for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. I know we sort of glossed over it, but I think we'll go over there again. A weakened Roosters team, should it create optimism amongst Warriors fans? Yes or no? By weakened, I mean, obviously, they don't have Lodge there. We're not versing Jared Warrior-Hargreaves. They did lose. There was a bit of chinks in the armor there, so to speak. Should we feel generally optimistic, or do you think we should tread with caution? Over to you, Roo. What are your thoughts?
Oh, mate, the Roosters are the Roosters. They're a strong professional outfit. You can never take them lightly. We've just spoken about all their key players that they still have in their side. So, you can absolutely never take them lightly. We don't have the greatest record against them either, and they're going to be up there. They're going to be top 4 side this year for sure. So, they can never take them lightly, and I never will.
Anything to add on to that as well, Hammer?
Well, mate, we can be optimistic. I just don't think we should be too overconfident. And again, my optimism probably doesn't come from a weakened Roosters outfit. It probably comes from a more resilient Warriors outfit under Andrew Webster. Football's a funny game, and you can't control pretty much what the other team are doing. You can only control what you're doing, and I think if we control what we're doing, if we complete our sets, limit our mistakes, don't miss too many tackles, we'll be in the contest right up until the end.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. Another question here as well. So Jackson Ford, with Jackson Ford being on the the starting position, obviously this has meant that Josh Curran has been forced to the bench. Is this something we'll see more of regularly, or is this more tactical? Over to you, Hammer. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, mate, we can give you some background info on this one. Josh Curran had a bit of a calf injury throughout the off-season, which was the reason why he didn't play in the Indigenous versus Māori All-Stars game.
Okay.
He had a bit of a chat with Webster, and Webster said to him, look, maybe you don't play this game and we get you right for the season. So he got 19 minutes last weekend, and I'm expecting that he'll probably get double that this weekend as he proves his fitness and comes back into the side. Whether Jackson Ford keeps him on the bench all season or not, I don't know. But at the moment, it's just a little bit of a tactical thing that Webby's enforced just so Josh can get over this calf injury that he had during the off season.
Okay, thanks for the heads up there. Thank you for that. And a last question before we go to some quick tips. And our tips, bench rotation. Roo, what would you do? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, it was interesting use of the bench in the last game with someone like Tom Arley only getting 8 minutes. And Josh Curran only getting about 19 minutes, but as we just said, carrying a bit of an injury. I think we'll see a different use of the bench this week. Getting those bigger bodies on the field, getting them a few more minutes to take on the Roosters pack. And maybe when you got a guy like Dylan Walker there, who can fill in anywhere. He's probably going to end up playing that middle forward role mostly, but can slot in anywhere in the back line. Let's face it. So I think our bench is good though. I like it. And as long as Egan can play the long minutes, then you got someone like Walker who can fill in at dummy half as well. So I quite like our bench at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that Jazz Tavanga makes his comeback this week in reserve grade. He's been named in the 13 jersey for the New South Wales Cup side. So how far away from a first grade selection on the bench he is, I'm not too sure. Whether Webster can play both Walker and Tavanga off a bench at the expense of maybe, dropping Tom Arley, perhaps. I don't know. But I'm with Rob at the moment. I think our bench at the moment looks quite good. And I think we all saw what Tom Arley could do in the trials. He played some really good footy in the trial, so we know he's got some talent about him. He's got a nice offload. He's got some good late footwork at the line. He is a bigger body, so I'll expect him to get more minutes, especially this weekend in the heat. Him and Bunty to have a little bit more impact, and Dylan Walker. So mate, I like our bench, but I'd like to see a guy like Tommy Arley just get some more game time out there. Because the last thing you want is lazy, tired forwards making mistakes when you've got a fresh guy sitting on the bench.
No, I echo exactly what you guys are saying as well. More minutes, nothing wrong with it. And I reckon definitely, having Tom Ali and Bunty out for, and even Josh Curran play more minutes, I think would be helpful for us as well. You mentioned the heat, mentioned the tired forwards as well, and I think that'll pay dividends for us.
Absolutely.
So again, we have the quick NRL tips here. I'm happy to rattle off the teams that are playing each other. Just give me your thoughts on them quickly. We have first game is a big one: Panthers, Rabbitohs. Roo, who wins?
I'm gonna stick with the Rabbitohs. I think they'll get the Panthers again.
Yeah, it depends. If they've named Latrell, if Latrell doesn't play, Panthers win. If Latrell plays, Rabbits.
Yep, I think for mine, I'm going to have to. I think I'll tip the Rabbits here. Rabbitohs for me. All right, so next game is Eels against Sharks. Roo?
Oh, geez. I think Eels. I'm going to stick with Eels. It's a tough one to pick. I'm having a complete mental blank. Sharks halfback.
Nico Hines.
Not playing. So for that reason, I just forgot his name. I could see him with his flowing locks in my head. But I'll stick with the Eels while he's still out.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Eels as well. the Eels lost game 1, Golden Point thriller against the Melbourne Storm. Melbourne have won, 20 of their last round 1 games. It's very hard to beat Melbourne in round 1. The Eels came very close. I'm going to pick the Eels in that one too.
Yeah, look, I'm going to stick with the Eels. It's going to be amazing, though, to know that one of these teams are going to start the season 0 and 2, which is going to be full on. The next game, a big one, Broncos and Cowboys. Roo, what are your thoughts on this one?
Oh, jeez. The way the Broncos performed last week, the way they defended up against the Cowboys. Look, I'm gonna say the Broncos, being a home game in Brisbane. So, yeah, I'm gonna stick with the Broncos in a close one. Always a close game with these two teams, often Golden Point. I'll stick with the Broncos.
For me, the Cowboys are going to need to address that issue that they had where they couldn't score points for about 50 minutes last week in that game at home against the Raiders, allowed the Raiders to get back into it. Reece Walsh back for the Broncos at fullback. Is that a defensive liability? Does that mean the Cowboys have got a little bit of points in them? Mate, I'm going to be true to Toddy. I'm going to stick with Toddy Payton, and I'm going to say the Cowboys.
Sorry, Toddy.
Yeah. I think I'll lean towards the Cowboys myself personally. We've already talked about the Roosters and Warriors. Next game is an interesting one. The Dolphins at home against the Raiders. Over to you, Roo.
Oh, jeez, how do you pick this one? I'm gonna back Uncle Wayne here. It's being played at was it KO Stadium? Fantastic ground to watch footy. We were lucky enough to go to about 6 games there last year. That place is going to be rocking. Homecoming for the Redcliffe Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think it'll be close, but I'll stick with the Dolphins.
Yep, I'm on the Dolphins. I have no faith in the Raiders this year. I don't know why. I just don't. And I said that at the beginning of the year, and I've got to be true to my word. But I said I had no faith in the Dolphins either. But the Dolphins impressed me last week. If their experienced forwards, Kafusi and the Bromwich brothers, can do the same thing again this weekend to that Raiders pack, and I don't think Josh Papali'i's playing as well. I don't think he's still out for the Raiders. So I'll pick the Dolphins in that one, in a close one. But the Dolphins to get home at home.
I'm tipping the Raiders here for an upset, I think. I just think it might pull off. Again, I think for me, the Dolphins' consistency, it's going to really be tested in this game here. Next game, Storm against the Doggies. Roo, over to you.
Mate, Storm. I was watching the Doggies last weekend. They've got a lot of work to do. They've got some good players in their team. They need to keep building a bit of cohesion. But the Storm, for mine, will be way too clinical for them.
Yeah, really disappointed in the Dogs last week. I expected big things considering who they bought, but no, they were very disappointing. Coming up against a Storm side, mate, I think the Storm are going to win. I think they're going to win big.
Yeah, agreed. And Storm for me. Last 2 games, West Tigers against the Knights. Roo, your thoughts?
Oh boy. We're saying it yesterday in our video. Geez, poor old West Tigers, Another season, same old. Look, they were diabolical against the Titans. The Knights weren't too bad against us. I don't feel the Tigers have improved their roster. I don't feel they can play that badly 2 weeks in a row. So I'm gonna stick with them in a real tight one. At Leichhardt again. So 2 games in a row in Leichhardt. So
yeah, mate.
Yeah. No confidence though. So
Luke Brooks has been an absolute failure for that club for the past 10 years. And yeah, they bought Uppy Coruscant. They started him off the bench. They bought Isaiah Papali'i. And you look at a guy like Isaiah Papali'i and everyone's thinking, he's going to bring so much. And Johnny Bateman's going to bring so much. But they can only do so much if their halfback, if their halves and their spine aren't doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. They had some fundamental errors again last week. Dane Laurie has just got shocking hands as a fullback. Who are they playing? The Titans? Knights.
Knights.
And then you've got the Knights. Jackson Hastings, I thought, was pretty good for the Knights last week. Kalen Ponga, I thought, was good in the 5'8" position. Lockie Miller brings a lot of speed at the back. And I'm a massive fan of Jaden Brayley. I just think that the Knights spine outranks the Tigers spine by miles, and I'm going to pick the Knights in that one.
Yeah, look, the more I sort of look at it closely, I think I'll probably have to fall in the way of the Knights there. The West Tigers, if they do lose this game as well, it's going to be an interesting sort of an aftermath for them and their staff and their fans. 0-2, I don't think is how they wanted to start this season after a dive season last year.
Yeah.
Times there in Leichhardt. So we've got the last game as well. Before we get to the Who Am I quiz as well to wrap things up, Dragons and Titans. Obviously, the Dragons come back from the bye, and Manly on the bye as well this week. Dragons, Titans, over to you, Roo.
Yeah, another tough one to pick. Don't know what to expect of the Dragons. Obviously, they had the bye first round. Titans surprised me, and if all their big guns click, and I think they might be able to get the job done. for Fifita just re-signed with the club, so they say, a content player, happy player, plays well, so plays sewed up his future. So I'll go with the Titans. Again, close one, I believe.
Yeah, recognised hooker they've got this year, and Sam Verrills coming from the Roosters. He's won a premiership. Kieran Foran, he's a premiership winner as well, playing at 5'8". Alexander Brimson going back to fullback, I think, has been really, really good for his game. It's hard to pick the Dragons with any confidence because we haven't really seen what they can do. And I've actually tipped them for the wooden spoon this year, so I will say the Titans in this one.
Yeah, I'll agree. Yeah, Titans for me. I just don't think that the Dragons have enough firepower to really show me that they're winning. All right, so it comes to the last segment as well. It's called Who Am I? And
Okay.
I actually brought this up to Roo Hammer, so I want to be. It's going to be all the stats here, and then I'll let you guys decide. Yeah, figure it out, talk amongst yourselves. We'll see what happens. But hey, you may also get it straight away as well.
Okay.
So, who am I? I was born on the 12th of the 2nd, 1981. I played 54 games for the Warriors between 2007 and 2010. And afterwards, I played 22 games for the West Tigers between 2010 and 2011, and then plied my trade over in the Super League. I'm a fullback, winger, as well as centre. In 2007, my try against the Penrith Panthers, round 15, was voted try of the year. What are your thoughts?
Wade McKinnon.
There we go.
You know what got me? It was the 2007 try of the year. I was just thinking, I'll never forget that try. That was amazing, wasn't it? That night against Penrith, he beat Michael Jennings about 5 times on the way to the line that night. And great player for the club. Had some really good years for us.
He did.
Yeah,
he did.
Wade
He still
McKinnon.
lives in New Zealand. Is a
fondly
firefighter.
remembered. Yeah,
Firefighter. Yeah. Still lives over there. Yeah.
Okay. You don't really hear often of the Aussie boys in the Warriors staying in New Zealand afterwards. Many of them return back home.
Quite a few have. Yeah,
Blake Ashford's still over there.
Brent Webb
Brent
runs the
Webb's
cafe over there.
Yep.
Steve Price was there for years, and he said if it wasn't because of his family back in Queensland, he would still be there.
Yeah.
So he lived there for a number of years.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty. Guys, before we wrap this up as well, any sort of last words as well in terms of where to follow you guys, where to find you guys, all the stuff there before we wrap this up.
Yeah, but jump onto our YouTube channel, please, and we'd love it if you would subscribe and give us a thumbs up on some of those videos that we got there. Every Wednesday night, we're going live to talk all things Warriors. So that's our YouTube channel. I think the handle is Roo Hammer 126. So, jump on there. Subscribe. Find us on Facebook, Instagram. If you want to get yourself some merchandise, if you want a Francis Melly 5 tries T-shirt, 20 years since that happened. If you want we got positional shirts. We got anything you want. So head on to our Redbubble page if you want to get yourself some Roo Hammer merchandise.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, we're giving away merchandise whenever we reach YouTube subscription milestones. We gave away our first shirt last week when we reached, or 2 weeks ago when we reached the 500 subscription. I think we're going to do another one at 750 or something like that. So, so get those subscriptions happening. You can also follow us on Instagram where we put all our content up daily. And, of course, we've got our Facebook page, Roo Hammer, as well.
Awesome, as and again, before I sort of wrap this up too, again, thank you again both for your time and having a yarn. Good chat, good yarn. Also as well, obviously, go to the Warriors. Hopefully we kick some Roosters' butt. Will be good. But it's as well, guys. Please follow them on Instagram, follow them on YouTube, Facebook. This won't be the last time you see them. on Hold the Ball, and I'm sure we'll be definitely up for more collaborations down the line. Looking forward to these. There's also Magic Round as well, so I'm looking forward to catch up with you guys as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely.
brother. Appreciate you having us on. Really appreciate it.
These guys, guess what? Roo Hammer did know how to hold the ball. Take it easy. See you guys next time.
Thanks, Bragg.
See ya.